Rule 7 of the Common Notebook Behind the Wardrobe. If something has possessed a person, it's easy to tell, but it's better to not let it know that you know.
Then she exhaled, ready to stand up, when from the top of the stairs she saw long, pale fingers curl around the wall. Hey y'all!
Welcome to the Spook Show.
Grab your drinks, grab your snacks, grab your blankets, and let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Do you see him?
Oh, I do.
I saw his eyes. Kitty. Okay. You're gonna sit right here. Like a good boy.
Okay, we're doing this again because it got such positive feedback on the last video that we did. We're doing creepypastas.
Yes. So if you are watching this video but you haven't seen the first one, there's only 2 in the series. Definitely go check that one out after this. Don't have to watch them in any sort of order. But yeah, super excited for this. So we both have 2 stories. I will start with mine first. So mine is called Candle Cove, which if you are a creepypasta fan, you've probably heard of this. It is apparently a huge series. Like, there is so many. I mean, it is this thick of all the different stories connected to Candle Cove. And something that makes this one really interesting is it's written in the style of an email, like an email thread between a couple of people. So yeah, I think it's super cool
And different.
Let's get into it. It comes most often at night. That niggling memory gnawing in some corner of your mind like a rodent, chewing on the corners of the drywall. The memory of some brightly lit cartoon funland or a world of puppets. A memory of a TV show you would watch, seated cross-legged on the living room floor, with the fixed, enthusiastic attention only a child can give. Attention that you wish now you perhaps hadn't given so freely. For there is something about that show, something about that discordant music, the details of the characters, their motivations and storylines, the fixed, maniacal grins that seem, looking back, to be altogether too sinister to be a children's show. You try to block the memory out, and yet, there, in the back of your mind, most often at night, the puppet's fixed grin keeps smiling. Net nostalgia form, television, local. Sky Shell 033, subject, Candle Cove local kids show? Does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m.? Mike Painter, 65. Subject, reply, Candle Cove, local kids show? It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove. Was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Sky. Yes! Okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls. Real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll. Looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF though. Jaren, 2005. Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what show you mean, Sky. I think Candle Cove ran for only a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name. Janice? Or Jade? Or something? I think it was Janice. Sky. Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock in Channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face with the lower jaw submerged, and it looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Edwin voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. Mike. Haha, I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Sky? You have to go inside. Sky. Ugh, Mike. I got chills reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place that he had to go in. Like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. And the camera would push into Laughingstock's face with each pause. You have to go inside. With his two eyes askew and that flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed. Ugh. It just looked so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth. Kevin Hart. I honestly thought the villain was Percy. I was about 5 when the show was on. Nightmare fuel. Jaren. That wasn't the villain. The puppet with the mustache? That was the villain's sidekick. Horish Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that meant he only had one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette. The Skin Taker. I can't believe that they let us watch that back then. Kevin. Jesus H. Christ. The Skin Taker. What kind of a kid's show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skin Taker showed up. He was just descended out of nowhere on his strings, just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and cape. And his glass eyes that were too big for his skull? Christ almighty. Sky. Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be children's skin? Mike. Yeah, I think so. Remember his mouth didn't open and close? His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the Skin Taker didn't look at the girl, but at the camera and said, "To grind your skin." Sky. I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream. I had where the opening jingle ended, the show faded in from black, and all the characters were there, but the camera was just cutting to each of their faces, and they were screaming, and the puppets and the marionettes were flailing spastically, and just all screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Kevin. I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that was an episode. Sky. No. Not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place crying and screaming for the whole show. Kevin. Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said that, but I swear to God, I remember seeing exactly what you described. They just screamed. Jaren. Oh God, yes. The little girl, Janice. I remember seeing her shake. And the skin taker screaming through his gnashing teeth, his jaw charring so wildly I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off, and that was the last time I watched. I ran to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Mike. I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little, in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and if she remembered a kids show, Candle Cove. She said she was surprised I could remember that, and I asked why. And she said, because I used to think it was so strange that you said, I'm gonna go watch Candle Cove now, Mom. And then you would turn the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show.
Oh.
The end. The end.
So all of them just saw the same thing?
Experiment on children? That's insane.
Why-
That's insane.
Why didn't their parents say anything to them?
All of them. All of them.
And then
imaginative little kids.
it was the kid and his brother both saw the same thing. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one is called The Sunday They Stayed. I remember the first time I saw the lights. I was driving home late from my shift at the mill, taking the back road through Pygmy Stream, Alabama, my hometown, to save gas. That's when I noticed Blessed Steeple Methodist Church wasn't dark like it should be. The church had been abandoned for 73 years now. Everyone knows this. The power was cut off long before I was born, and the lines were eventually pulled down for scrap. But there it was, plain as day, a warm yellow glow flickering behind the stained glass windows. It blinked on and off, like someone was flipping a switch that didn't exist. I pulled my truck over and just watched for a while. The flickering had no rhythm to it. Sometimes it would stay dark for a full minute. Sometimes it would strobe so fast it gave me a headache just looking at it. I didn't get out of my truck that night. I'm not stupid. But curiosity is a powerful thing. I started driving by more often, usually in the early mornings before sunrise when I couldn't sleep. That's when I noticed the orb. It would hover just above the steeple, glowing a soft white, almost like a lantern held by someone invisible. Sometimes it would drift lower, and that's when the others would appear. Little specks of light that would rise from the cemetery like fireflies. Except fireflies don't glow that bright, and they don't move in straight lines toward a single point. They'd flicker around the headstones, dancing with each other, and then one by one they'd vanish into the ground they came from. One morning I got brave. I parked at the edge of the property and walked toward the rock path that leads to the front doors. The moment my foot touched the first stone, the ground trembled beneath me. Not an earthquake, nothing that big, just a deep rumble like something was turning in its sleep. The trees on either side of the path started swaying toward me, their branches reaching out like fingers, even though there wasn't a breath of wind. Then, the rocks themselves began to scream. I'm not being poetic. The stones underneath my feet let out a high-pitched screech, like nails on a chalkboard, but amplified through the soles of my shoes. It was loud and so painful I had to cover my ears and stumble backwards. When I reached the grass again, the sound stopped instantly. The trees went still. The stones fell silent. The lights in the church had ceased flickering the moment I got close. The orb above the steeple lingered for a few seconds, like it was watching me. Then it just winked out of existence. I've heard the stories about what happened there. The entire congregation, nearly 50 people, came for a Sunday service one morning and never left. Their cars stayed in the parking lot for weeks until families came to claim them. But the bodies were never found. They just vanished, all at once, right in the middle of worship. Sometimes you can hear them. I've heard it myself from a safe distance. The screaming comes first, always a chorus of terror that cuts through the night air. Then after a few minutes, the screaming fades into singing. Hymns. Beautiful and reverent and wrong, because you know what happened to those voices. 2 pastors from big cities heard about the church and wanted to exorcise it, or whatever they thought they could do. Both of them attempted to breach those front doors on the same day, separately, and neither of them could get them open. They eventually gave up and went home. 7 days later, on Sunday evening, both pastors died. One died from a pulmonary embolism, which, while in prayer at his kitchen table. The other died from cardiac arrest in the foyer of his own church. Same night, different cities, both dead, confirmed by the town newspaper the following Monday. I still drive by sometimes. I don't get out anymore, but sometimes I roll my window down and listen. If you listen close enough, past the screams and the hymns, you can hear something else. Something breathing. Something patient. Something that's been waiting inside that church for well over 70 years and knows eventually someone will get those doors open. It won't be me. Those rocks told me everything I need to know. They weren't screaming to hurt me. They were screaming to warn me, and I'm smart enough not to listen.
What the heck is eating people is my question.
Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah. Just vanished.
You know what it reminds me of? That movie, how is it? Is it claymation? How is it made? Monster House? Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes. I'm trying to...
Okay.
Why does it remind you of
So,
Monsters?
it's about this guy and his wife.
Yeah.
And he's really skinny and she's like really, really big. And like the neighborhood kids like bully her and she like dies in the house and becomes the house because she's like stuck there. And
they like die in
the house starts eating people.
Got you.
Maybe that's what happened.
Monster House.
Whoa! This is called About One Shift at Clover Camp, but the thing that's cool is this was published February 1st, 2026. Oh. So like a month ago. Literally a month ago. Huh. Okay. The month I had to spend every summer at a children's camp was the most loathed period of the year for me. A place where children were supposed to rest, laugh, and socialize with their peers was, for me and other wards of Clover Camp, hard labor. A tour of duty, a burden we were forced to shoulder year after year, and did so. Paying with our strength, our sanity, our health. And someone, every year, without fail, paid with their life. Of course, children usually don't die at camp itself, but later, after returning home. Clover Camp could not be shut down because of campers' deaths. We made sure of that, and hoped that the next one dead would be someone else. From the outside, The place looked like an idyllic children's camp. We lived in cabins in a pine forest, almost on the shore of a clear woodland lake with a small sandy beach. The counselors were young teachers or recent graduates from education programs using modern child development techniques. Spacious rooms, each comfortably housing 6 boys or girls. Sports competitions, creative projects, outdoor games, quizzes, developmental activities. Clover Camp had everything needed to attract new children every year, aged 8 to 16. And new children arrived every summer. First-timers were easy to spot among those who had already survived the shift. They looked forward to a month away from their parents, new friendships, fun, maybe a summer crush. Their faces shone among ours. Temporarily, of course. On the very first day, their more experienced roommates, or kids from older groups, would explain how things really were. It took a few more days for them to understand it wasn't a joke, not a prank on newcomers. 1 or 2 days if contacts started immediately, or about 6 if the beginning of the shift was relatively quiet. In the summer of 2005, I was 13, and it was my 5th stay at Clover Camp. On arrival day, I stood on the long porch in front of our room, 4th unit, room 3, wondering how many newcomers I'd see when I opened the door. Daima, my longtime friend and comrade in arms, who I met during my first year here and who's assigned the same room again, sighs impatiently behind me, a heavy blue duffel slung upon his shoulder. Why are you stuck? Open it already. With a tight feeling in my chest, I pull the door open. My gaze falls on the faces of 4 boys who are destined to be my roommates this shift. It isn't that bad. Philip, Fat Vadman, and Coatsy, his friend from last summer, all of them had been here before. The 4th, a lanky red-haired kid, is clearly new. He is unpacking a large black backpack, laying out necessities on his bed. His smile is stiff, strained. Well, at least he's reading the room correctly. When Daima and I enter, the boys visibly relax. Vadman collapses onto his bed in relief. Philip grins widely. Kotsky raises a fist in a triumph gesture. We're all glad, only one newbie. Daima and I greet the veterans, exchange small talk about how the year went. Seeing that everyone already knows each other, the newcomer decides not to lag behind. A bit shyly, he joins us. Yura, he introduces himself, shaking our hands. Unsure whether as a newcomer, he has the right to sit on someone else's bed, he leans against his wardrobe instead. He tries to fit in, listening more than speaking. A good sign, I think. Do you believe in scary stories, newbie? Philip asked, in the middle of the conversation. Magic stuff. Evil spirits. Huh? Yura is caught off guard. He looks at Phil, then uncertainly scans our faces, expecting grins, teasing, some sign this was a joke. There are none. Our faces are serious. Dead serious, if such a thing can be said. Finding no clue, he answers, well, I don't know. There's this woman, Aunt Kay, in a nearby village. They say she's a witch. Supposedly, Yetzi came to see her for advice in the 90s. And a guy from my class told me he once walked through the cemetery at night and saw this green glow. But I think he's lying. No way he'd go there at night. Yura, I interrupt. Loudly, firmly. He stops at once and looks at me. This camp isn't ordinary. We'll explain everything tonight. You won't believe it. Almost nobody does at first. But try. Until evening, stick close to one of us. It's important. You don't want to stumble into something out of ignorance. Pay attention to your surroundings. If you notice anything strange, tell one of us immediately. Don't interfere on your own. After lights out, will tell you everything. I try to smile reassuringly, not sure how well it works, and step back onto the porch. I will unpack later once the others are done. Passing our cabin, there go Alana and Krill. Alana is our informal leader, an artist. Talents like hers are rare, and because of that, and because of her importance to our work, artists are always generals in our secret war. Krill is also an artist, though a simpler one. He's a year younger than Alana, so next year, when she won't be able to return, he will take over. Behind them walks a small girl with a blue backpack on her shoulder, a first-timer most likely. The corner of a sketchbook sticks out of her pack. Catching my eye, Alana waves and makes a brushing motion, like a paintbrush on canvas. Artist, she mouths silently, giving me a thumbs up. The day passes quietly. In the evening, the newcomer receives a very good demonstration. Guys, there's someone. Someone's looking out from behind the trees. His bed was by the window, opposite the door. We gather beside him and look to where he points a finger that barely trembles. And indeed, in the forest, brightly lit by the setting sun, someone is peeking out from behind a tree. A human silhouette. The face is impossible to see. It leans out, stares, presumably at us, for a few seconds, then hides again. The action repeats about once a minute. Rule 12 of safety rules, Phil says loudly. If someone is staring at you from the forest, don't stare back and close the curtains for at least half an hour. Better, an hour. Don't go to the bathroom for now. It's in the forest. Safety rules? Yura tears his gaze away from the window and looks at Phil in confusion. Phil goes to the wardrobe, reaches behind its back panel, and pulls out a dusty green notebook. Here. Every room has one. Every unit. Always behind the wardrobe. Written mostly by, well, let's say specific experience. We have to add to it from time to time. That's the worst part. He shows Yura the pages. The first 3 are almost completely filled. Lines written in different hands by multiple generations of boys. Most are riddled with mistakes, blotches, uneven handwriting. The handwriting of frightened teenagers with one goal: survive the shift. Rule 12, Phil points to the bottom of the first page. If someone is staring at you from the forest, don't stare back and close the curtains for at least half an hour. Avoid the forest for an hour unless absolutely necessary. See, I've practically memorized it. You should too. And always put the notebook back behind the wardrobe. It can be a matter of life and death. Yura stares at Phil, then glances at the window, already curtained by Daima, and silently sits on his bed, reading. He still suspects some elaborate prank, an initiation ritual. In a way, that's exactly what it is. But the idea of a joke has to be abandoned as soon as possible. And in my opinion, he isn't hopeless. Open to new things, even if they contradict everything he thought he knows about the world. A couple more days, and if he doesn't have terrible luck, he'll adapt quickly. That shift, overall, was the quietest I can remember. Kids from the 5th unit say something walked on their cabin roof one night. Then footsteps stopped, and loud knocking began inside the wardrobe. One evening, Krill, the artist, saw children sitting by the lake, dressed in soaking wet winter clothes. A few other isolated incidents. But by the end of the shift, we even managed to fill something like a normal children's camp. Badminton tournaments, lineups, group songs. Only one thing troubles the counselors. Not a single child signed up for forest orienting. Everything is quiet. Almost. Our final night of the shift arrives. In other camps, it's called Royal Night. We call it that too, but for a different reason. Because the shift has been calm, our mood is usually a little lighter, but on Royal Night, any optimism evaporates. It would be too good if the shift ends without incident. Something will happen. Somewhere. We all know it. Darkness falls. The light in the room is off. No one speaks, but I know for certain that no one is sleeping. Everyone is waiting, listening to the sounds of the forest beyond the old window. Even closed, it lets noise through. We don't exactly know which sounds we're waiting for. Growling, whispering, footsteps, soft and creeping, or mad and fast, beating out the rhythm of a charging creature. A scream? Last one isn't so bad. Perhaps the danger came to another unit. Perhaps it was repelled and won't come for anyone else, and we'll greet the dawn in peace. It's ugly, of course, to feel relief when danger finds someone else. But don't expect too much from terrified 13-year-old boys who have seen more than you'll ever see. A creak. Outside. The porch. Our hearing sharpens to the limit. Did I imagine it? Another creak. Closer footsteps. I didn't imagine it. Quiet moan. Not outside. Inside. Kotski. So, something is on our porch. Our unit has 4 rooms. 2 boys, 2 girls. In every one of them, no one is sleeping. Everyone heard the creak. The chance it will come to your room is 25%, and everyone is praying to not draw the unlucky lot. I don't think prayers work here. But I still close my eyes and whisper incoherent words to no one in particular. The footsteps pass the first room. 33.3%. Past the second. 50%. Moonlight illuminates Dima's pale face. His bed right by the entrance. Mine is next. In the corner. He's my friend. But in my heart, I'm glad there's someone between me and the door. Even if that someone is my comrade in arms. Sue me if you want. The footsteps stop at our door. Through the small window above Dima's bed, I see a dark silhouette hesitating by the entrance. Human-shaped, adult-sized, but without details. The figure seems to think, to listen to itself, then slowly raises a hand to push open the creaking door. The unlucky ticket is ours. Someone had to draw the black mark. No time to whine. The danger has come and we must resist it. Whatever has entered our room, we must act so that our room survives. Rule 1 of Common Notebook behind the wardrobe. If danger has come, act. Survival instructions follow below. Rule 2, the Common Notebook behind the wardrobe. If there are no survival instructions for this specific situation, try to survive and tell as many campers as possible exactly what you did to survive. Yura lets out a muffled sob. This is his baptism by fire. He's lucky. It happens at the end of the shift. The rest of us make no sound. Panic will only make things worse. Our eyes fixed on the figure. It slowly reaches out and switches on the night light on the wardrobe. Ella Vadman, our counselor. Or rather, something wearing her shape. Something smiling at us with her lips far too wide. One of her eyes is half closed, like a sleeping person. The other keeps rolling back, and something inside her has to exert constant effort to keep looking at us. In her hand, clumsily clutched, is a black plastic bag. "You're not sleeping, boys?" it asks, never narrowing its smile. Rule 7 of the Common Notebook behind the wardrobe. If something has possessed a person, it's easy to tell, but it's better to not let it know that you know. We're awake, Ella, Phil whispers, his voice dry. The single open eye fixes on Phil. Dragging unfamiliar borrowed legs, the thing shuffles towards his bed. It awkwardly raises a hand, tries to pat his head with a limp, dead hanging palm. Phil turns visibly pale. Good boy, Ella says. Do you know what little children usually do at camp? Phil shakes his head with difficulty. The creature doesn't seem to recognize the gesture and waits a few seconds for the answer. Then it opens Ella's mouth again. At camp, at night, children tell scary stories and summon spirits. Without taking its gaze off Phil, it reaches into the bag. And I have everything we need right here. Let's not break tradition, children. Come here, all of you, onto this good boy's bed. Children at camp really do those things. They tell horror stories. They summon things. We have to play along. Slowly, as if in a trance, we rise from our beds and approach Phil's. With every step, each of us searches for a reason to refuse Ella. There are none. She, sits down on the edge of the bed. Well then, children, it smiles, only with the left side of its mouth. Oh. I have never seen such a smile on a human face. It begins on the left and ends exactly in the center, dissolving into tightly clenched lips. I don't think that's psychologically possible. Do you know who we're trying to summon? Possibilities flash through my mind. The Queen of Spades, the Swearing Gnome, Pushkin, the Babadook, a mushroom spirit. We're going to summon the Queen of Spades! A triumph spark flares in Ella's eyes. Crap. Anyone but the Queen of Spades. I've never summoned anyone. There are no suicides at Clover Camp. But the Queen of Spades is part of school folklore, and not a single story about her ends well, or humorously, like the ones about swearing gnomes. From the bag, it takes out a small mirror, a tube of lipstick. Ella's eyes dart between us. Stay calm. Don't look her in the eyes, but don't look away. Don't close your eyes. I don't know where that thought comes from, but I fix my gaze on her chin. Not aggressively, not in a challenge, but without showing fear. Vadman, Ella says. The choice is made. This is Vadman's fight. Daima exhales softly in relief. The creature hands the lipstick to Vadman. His hand trembles as he takes it. Vadman, kind, soft Vadman, who lies down to nap whenever he gets the chance. Vadman, author of Rule 22 of the Common Notebook behind the wardrobe. They cannot enter your sleep, but in your sleep you may see what to fear and how to defeat it. Vadman, the homeboy who conquers his fear every year and has come back for 3 shifts now. Vadman, who can fall asleep even in the middle of horror. Vadman, who in his first shift dreamed that something would appear at night in the second room of the 8th unit, allowing the girls to sleep in a neighboring unit and possibly saving their lives. This is his fight. He accepts it. Draw a door, boy. Right here, Ella says, her fingers clumsily tapping on the center of the mirror and slowly sliding towards the upper right corner, indicating where it should be. Vadman draws the door. The lines are steady. So steady you wouldn't even guess his hands are shaking. That's good. He's focused. He isn't letting fear win. I'd say the odds are 70% in Vadman's favor. Now the stairs. The unnaturally tense finger moves diagonally from the upper right corner to the lower left, from the door downwards, like this. Vadman freezes. Ella's fingers tap impatiently against the mirror. Left, down, left, down, left, down. Again and again until the staircase is complete. The lipstick slips from Vadman's fingers and falls. He stares at the drawing without blinking. Good. Good boy. Now say, Queen of Spades, come. Queen of Spades, come. Queen of Spades, come. 3 times, my boy. 3 times. This will be very fun. You're having fun, children. You're having fun, children, aren't you? Our counselor asks. Vadman turns to us, searching for support. Support none of us can give. His eyes move from face to face, silently pleading for something. Help, protection, a hint. Nothing. Helping now is dangerous, and he knows it. When his gaze reaches me, I widen my eyes slightly and shrug one shoulder, slightly mouthing, go on. He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, then another. Ella's fingers tap faster and faster, harder and harder. Vadman repeats the words 3 times and stares at the mirror as if he's in a trance. Though, why as if? We all see it. The base of the drawn staircase is a small flame appearing. Slowly, it begins climbing the steps forward, the door at the top. A sharp exhale by my ear pulls my attention away from the mirror. I turn and see Yura standing behind me. His eyes are wide, fixed on the flame. He sees nothing else, understands nothing else. He wouldn't have survived tonight. The only reason he's alive is because the lot fell to Vadman. The flame climbs higher. 2 more steps. 1 more. It pauses for a few seconds before the door, and the room's entrance door flies open, slamming into the wall. The sound makes the girls in the neighboring room cry out. Gusts of wind burst inside, sweeps through the room, and dies as it reaches Vadman. Everything freezes. The silence is broken only by an unpleasant sound. It takes a moment to realize it's Ella, staring at Vadman's face with greedy, joyful anticipation, struggling to hold back laughter. I watch Vadman slowly turn, as if in a trance, walk to his bed, lie down without covering himself in a blanket. Ella stands, backs towards the door, never taking her eyes off of him. We no longer pay attention to her leaving. We all understand what just happened. We've seen it before, or heard about it in previous shifts. All except Yura. But he reads the room correctly, doesn't ask questions. We lie down too, but sleep doesn't come for a long time. Only Vadman snores. By morning, he'll remember nothing. That's how it always is. Morning brings departure chaos. The happiest day of the shift. It's over, and until next summer, we're ordinary children again. Packing bags, searching for lost things, cheerful chatter and laughter. From the outside, the final day looks like the first day of a normal summer camp. At Clover, it always does. Only our unit is subdued. Not too much. We can't let Vadman notice or suspect anything. Daima, who's taken Yuri under his wing, explains everything to him in the morning. What happened last night, how to behave now, what will happen next. It's good Yura takes it seriously. His first shift may be over, and he already has some experience at Clover Camp. But still, he'll go far. If he's lucky. Vadman is somewhere outside enjoying his last day at camp. I use the opportunity to leave the room and go to the artist. I find them under a canopy at the far end of the camp, where their group traditionally spends most of their free time. Alana, Krill, and little Oya. Of course, rumors have already reached Alana. They just need names. The two older artists look at me, expectantly. Not expectantly, demanding. I don't need to say anything. I know what they're waiting for. I know, and I still stand there in silence, because once I say the name, it all becomes real. I look away, down the tables covered in sheets of A4 paper. Quick sketches of camp life, but more often, symbols, strange patterns, incomparable signs. During my first shift, I asked Alana what they were. Protection, she said. Something like ruins, talismans, wards. They just come to them while drawing, along with the knowledge of what to do with them afterwards. Burn them while muttering nonsense words. Fold them into paper boats and launch them into the lake. Hide them under the moss in the forest. All sorts of things. I remember how reassuringly she told me back then. See, it's not all bad. There's a lot of evil here, a lot of monsters, and God knows what else. But there are good forces too. Someone sends us the knowledge. Someone helps us. Someone saves us. Yes. But no one will save Admin from the artist. I close my eyes, gathering my strength. I imagine myself far away from here. I only have to say one word. Let it fall from my lips, and that's it. My duty will be done. Just let it fall. Vadman. There. I've said it. Somewhere far away, with my eyes closed. But I hear Alana's dark sigh. I'm not far away at all. Krill rustles, paper businesslike. Heart? He asked. God, of course not, Alana snaps. They'll start investigating. Clover could get into trouble. Why let in a kid with heart conditions who needed special care? It's Alana's last year at camp. After that, Krill will become the lead artist, and he still has one more shift ahead of him. We're doomed with him. He's foolish. Maybe that disease? Little Ola says. I forgot the name. When a tick bites? My grandma's neighbor died from it in the village. I can draw it. The boys showed me ticks. Alana nods thoughtfully. That'll do. No questions for the camp. They won't be able to prove he was bitten here. Ola takes a pencil and bends over her sketchboard. I know what she'll draw. I nod to them and walk away. As much as possible, we avoid Badman until departure. Not completely, but still. I manage to avoid being in the same room with him until the moment of goodbye. And when we're boarding the bus, he remembers nothing about the night. Nothing about the summoning the Queen of Spades. Nothing about losing the fight and about the malicious spirit from the world of the dead, or whatever dark world that is settled inside of him waiting for its moment. But that thing inside of him remembers everything. It must not realize that we understand. And under no circumstances must it learn about our artist, our last secret line of defense, the weapon that, even at the cost of the soldier's life, prevents a malicious entity inside of children from someday killing parents, siblings, classmates. That is the purpose of the shifts at Clover Camp. So they literally summon demons to then kill off the demons. Inside the children.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
inside
inside
the children. Kill the children because
the demon is inside the children. Oh my gosh. That's so crazy.
That's not where I thought that was
I
going.
didn't either. I thought it was going to be like some sort of sacrifice. No, it's like spirit, like demons trying to get to the human world.
Wow. This is called the music box. Isabella walked to the front of her grandmother's casket. Her grandmother looked peaceful in her repose, wearing her favorite dress. Isabella guessed that she didn't understand what happened. It felt as if she had just visited her grandma for afternoon tea not too long ago, And then days later, she got a call that Grandma Iris had passed away. She looked curiously at the inside of the casket as if the reality hadn't quite sunk in. She remembered the sunlight spilling through the windows in the bright afternoon and the way the smell of coffee lingered with the earthy scent of herbs. Isabella didn't care much for tea, and her grandma always made a fresh pot for her weekly visits on Wednesdays. Iris loved to sample new teas, so there was always a pot steeping on the counter, the steam from the hot liquid floating up in the air. Isabella remembered chatting innocuously about a new guy she was seeing and how college was going, which professors were a pain, and which ones she really liked, when she noticed a worried, faraway look on her grandma's eyes. They were ice blue, yet full of warmth, and in her old age, Iris had not lost a single ounce of sharpness. Earlier in life, she had been an anthropologist. I had to read that one for a second. Which was actually what Isabella was going to school for as well, inspired by her grandma. "Is something wrong?" she asked. Grandma Iris hesitated. "I want you to promise me something, should anything happen to me." Isabella interrupted. "Nothing is gonna happen. Should something happen, could you do me a favor? I understand this is a lot to ask." "Okay," Isabella said, confused by the serious tone. "I've been working on something for quite a while, and I fear it may catch up with me soon. Do you remember that music box? The one I brought home?" "Oh, yeah, that really creepy one that plays that weird music no one could place and has a little figurine of a weeping woman?" Isabella said. "Yes," Iris said slowly, looking down at her teacup before taking a sip. "I'm going to need you to get rid of it when I'm gone. First of all, I need you to be there when I graduate, so you better be sticking around for a long time. Secondly, you really don't have to tell me twice. I hated that thing. It gave me such a weird feeling, like when you pass a mirror in the middle of the night. Even though, there's nothing there, your brain still kind of tricks you." Iris gave a lukewarm smile. There was no humor in her eyes. "If I'm being honest, there's a little more to it than simply throwing it in the trash. Don't worry about it now. I'll make sure you have everything you need when the time comes." Isabella shrugged and smiled. She noticed that sometimes older individuals can talk quite cryptically about their future. She was okay doing whatever her grandmother required, even if she didn't fully understand the context. To Isabella, the rest of the day moved like molasses. She was stuck between wanting to save her last moments with her grandmother, physically, while she could, and itching for the opportunity to escape the crying relatives and endless hugs. Eventually, she made it back to her small studio apartment for rest. Still numb from the day, she was at her grandmother's cozy home earlier the next morning. When she went in, she found a note on the table addressed to her. "Isabella, I'm so sorry to tell you this. I deeply regret that this will be passed on to you, and I fear that the moment you get into my house, it will set off the chain of events. She belongs to you now, and if you would like to survive, you would like to help me close the loop once and for all, then follow these instructions. On the table, you will find candles, matches, salt, ash from the fireplace." Isabella blinked repeatedly, her eyes dry and scratchy. Another note read, "From the music box, please. You only have 10 seconds to find the candle that has gone out. Then the weeping woman will come get you." Isabella hesitated. Mango-eyed, her nervously. What? Mango. Oh, is Mango a cat or something?
I guess. Or a dog. Yeah.
Isabella hesitated. Mango eyed her nervously and hopped to the table with our grandmother's letter. She began biting the side of the candle and knocked one of them off the table. Okay, listen, you have to stop. But Mango didn't stop, and only paused once Isabella had the candle and matches in her hand. Isabella bit her lip, trying to think. Then she decided that her grandmother had never steered her wrong. This was, by all intents and purposes, her grandmother's dying request. One by one, she drew the curtains in the house, checking each room before leaving it in deep orange shadow from the curtains. She went down the list of instructions, which she folded and put in her pocket between set-up steps. She created the circle in the middle of the living room, roughly shoving furniture aside and throwing the rug into the kitchen. The circle was almost more of an oval, but she felt proud. She sprinkled the ash and smeared the symbols that her grandma had scribbled onto the parchment in the letter. Mango eyed her curiously the whole time. Isabella then found the music box on her grandmother's dresser, another note taped to the top that said, "Please be safe." She tucked the note into her back pocket and set the box in the middle of the floor. She almost lit the first candle at the coffee table when she realized she still needed a mirror. She searched anxiously. How much time had already passed? She only had a few minutes left. She pulled her purse out, took her Revlon compact, and stacked books to set out open in front of the candle. She really hoped this counted. Mango hopped onto the couch next to her, pressed her body against Isabella's. "It's okay, baby," Mango repeated twice before falling silent again.
I thought Mango was a cat.
What is going on? Okay. The candle was lit, and Isabella sat in breathless silence. At first, there was nothing. Then she exhaled, ready to stand up, when from the top of the stairs she saw long, pale fingers curl around the wall. A head poked out. A woman with long black hair obscured her face except for one cloudy eye. Isabella screamed and stood up. Mango reacted accordingly. She had kicked the candle over, which she quickly picked back up. She grabbed Mango as gently as she could, and when she looked back, there was nothing. Mango hopped onto her shoulder, and Isabella rushed to the first location instructed.
Is Mango a parrot?
It's a parrot. Mango is a parrot.
Why was that not mentioned in the first 3 seconds of meeting Mango? I thought the cat was talking.
I thought the cat was talking too.
It's a
It's a parrot. Okay. She grabbed her vials of salt and ash and the matches and hurried along. She heard weeping from the upstairs and did everything she could to stay calm. Mango began singing the first 5 notes of the music box song, and when Isabella turned around, she saw that the weeping woman had gotten closer. Each time she blinked, she could sense the impending doom. She flung the door open and frantically lit the pillar candle. It was quiet. Isabella could not tell where the woman was. The crying stopped. She no longer saw her near the stairs. Mango dug her little talons into Isabella's shoulder painfully as she sprinkled the ash counterclockwise. The room lit up, and Isabella looked up to see the weeping woman repelled. She had only been a foot away. Isabella had to control her breathing to avoid hyperventilating. Mango began to calm down, and Isabella looked cautiously out from the guest bathroom. The weeping had started in another room. The music box was gone. No, Isabella cried. Where is it? She started frantically looking around the kitchen and living room, then saw a glint at the top of the stairs. The box. Isabella did not want to go over there. However, she gathered courage and scrambled up the stairs, stopping midway to glance down the hallway. It was clear. She grabbed the box and put it back in the circle. The weeping stopped. Isabella was still at the top of the stairs. This was technically the direction she needed to go. She scrambled to her grandmother's room, dodging the open, dark doorways along the way. She lit the last candle and sprinkled the ash and salt counterclockwise in each room as intended. Mango faithfully assisted, alerting Isabella to the silent hunting of the weeping woman. She went to the circle and saw that nothing had changed. The box still stood. Then she remembered she had forgotten the garage. She raced there, narrowly missing the grabbing arms of the weeping woman. Mango panicked, scratching and scrambling. Isabella lit the candle, sprinkled the concoction needed, and there was no scream, only a deep sigh, like the wind. When she returned, the box had melted like silver wax. Love you, baby. Love you, baby. Mango squalled. I love you too, Mango. Let's go home. She opened the window to the bright afternoon sunlight, and the door opened easily. That's it. Wow.
Mic drop. Girl.
So she got rid of the box.
She got rid of the box. Slay.
Mango is a
Mango's a parrot. Mango's not a cat. Mango's a parrot. I don't know why that wasn't mentioned in the beginning of meeting Mango hopping up. Mango, Iris's parrot, hopped onto the table, and Gaston hops onto things. Because you were like, is Mango a cat? I was like, oh,
no. She said, I love you, baby. Love you, baby. And I was like, why is the cat talking?
Guys,
Oh
I hope you're aware that this has probably been over 2 hours of filming. Serious. I'm so serious.
We filmed this once.
Filmed this once
before this time.
It's been 2 hours.
This is our twice.
Dude, and we have more to film.
Oh gosh, yeah.
My favorite was the pirate one. No, I think that one was my favorite.
Yeah, I like how that one was like laid out.
I did too. I thought that was really unique. And then figuring out they're all crazy and
there wasn't a show and they were all saying the same thing. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, if y'all liked these stories as much as we did, click the thumbs up.
Yes, please.
Click the subscribe button.
Yes, please.
If you want to get notified for the next time we post, click the bell.
Yes, please.
If you want to hear more creepypasta stories, let us know in the comments.
If you have other ideas for content you want to see on YouTube, ideas you have for content you want to see on Instagram, TikTok, let us know. We are always open to your suggestions and we accept it gratefully.
We have TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and that's all in the description, along with our individual socials.
Check us out.
But yeah. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye!